Hi guys, this is Melanie and I'm back with another speed build. I've been gone for a while. I haven't put anything up on YouTube because I was away all summer and then I've been sick and it has been a very interesting few months, but I'm hoping to build regularly again. Well, I have been building regularly, but I'm hoping to post regularly again so I can get some more videos up on YouTube. So today I'm putting up a video I actually built probably like 4 months ago. So it's pretty old, but I wanted to share it because I really liked it. So it's an 80s or 90s build, and I couldn't quite pinpoint a time period for it, which is because when I was researching this time period, the 80s and the 90s kind of like they blurred together. Obviously, styles of houses don't just change right when a new decade comes. But I wanted to build a house in this era because it reminds me of growing up. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so this is a house that would have been in my neighborhood, or a lot of it I draw from the house that I lived in growing up. I actually have built the house that I lived in growing up, which I should put up on the gallery. It's a pretty awesome house. It's typical of the 80s and 90s is that in that I like it looks very small from the outside, but the layout is actually pretty big, and I think that's true for this house as well. I think it looks smaller on the outside than you actually get to fit in here. I do make a functioning garage, not functioning in the fact that you can drive your car in there, but in the fact that I made it into like a workshop space instead of just putting the garage door on the outside and doing different from the build inside. I actually made it a garage on the inside. And I think it turns out pretty good, but it ends up taking up a lot of the space in the house. So a lot of it's eaten up with just kind of dead space, which if you don't use your garage, is pretty true in real life as well. So I was dealing with the layout here, and in 80s and 90s builds, I've noticed that the kitchens are still separate. The open plan thing hasn't come around yet. So I've got the kitchen off to one side and then the family room off to the other. And when I was reading about different eras of houses, it was talking about how in the 80s people still had pretty small rooms and things, but when they wanted to make them look bigger, they would just put up a whole wall of mirrors. So I do that in the dining room. I just put up a huge wall of mirrors, and that's pretty reminiscent of the 80s when you can see like closet doors that are just mirrors or shower doors that are just mirrors. So I kind of wanted to reflect that in this build. And then in the 90s, they actually started making rooms that were a lot bigger, so they didn't need to do that as much. And then, in the 2000s, that's when the whole open concept thing came in. And so the kitchen, the family room, the dining room was all one thing. So I'm building the kitchen right here, and I wanted to focus on making everything in the house kind of in this blue color, and I use a lot of pink as well. And there are roosters a lot in the kitchen, and that's just because growing up there were a lot of roosters in my kitchen, and a lot of middle-aged ladies who would have been like, at their peak in the 80s and 90s, they all seem to have roosters in their kitchens. So I decided that I should implement that. And then I also made a little eat-in kitchen area because there's a separate dining room, but that wasn't realistic for like every day. So there's a little table there for like breakfast. And another odd thing I've noticed about the 80s and 90s, which I might have already discussed in another video, or I've tried making this recording once before, so I might have talked about it then. But there were a lot of geese in decor. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe like people have a lot of owls and foxes in their house decor now, but back in the day it was geese, and they wore bonnets, and they would like walk in a row, and you would see their profile. Like they were just waddling away to go like in the lake with their little bonnet on. It was the most random thing. But I was just visiting my husband's grandma, and she actually still has some like geese, bonneted geese in her bathroom in the basement. It was amazing. It was like a little time capsule to my childhood. But unfortunately, I don't know what The Sims is thinking. They don't have bonneted geese, so I was forced to just, make like the feeling thereof with all of these blue and pink colors. And right here I'm making the dining room, and I did that wall of mirrors like I talked about, and then I just messed around with the placement of the dining room. And this house was modeled very largely off of my husband's grandparents' house. It looks a lot like this, where it's brown on the outside and then with the stairs going up, but it's split level, but unfortunately we can't do split level. I tried so many times to figure out a way to do split level with this house, but it just ended up being way too many staircases that were pretty much pointless. So I just went with a regular house, but one day there'll be split levels and I'll be very happy. So again, I was just going with the whole pink theme and carpet. There's carpet everywhere and different colors, and there's a lot of like different sections of flooring. Like I feel like now people like to have wood throughout, but then it was like, oh, let's have some parquet here, and let's have some carpet here, and another type of carpet here, and let's splash some linoleum there. So I was trying to go for the whole different look. And I noticed there are a lot of, in the 80s, there's a lot of like modern glass sort of things. So people were kind of we're kind of getting on like the modern train, like with that glass coffee table, but it wasn't quite what we think. There was still a lot of like decadence and a lot of stuff everywhere and trinkets. So not typical modern, but there would be like a modern mirror or a glass coffee table here or there. And again, I've discussed this before, but I really don't like those saxophone paintings, but they were perfect for this build. So it's always nice to build something that you're not trying to make look cute, because then you can use all the stuff you don't really normally get to use. And I did a lot of potted plants. I just remember that growing up, that my mom had a lot of plants everywhere. And I always thought that was a pain because she had to go around and water all of them. And it took like half an hour every day, until I think now she just uses fake plants, so she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So I decided to make this a 2-bedroom house. I would have liked to put more bedrooms in, but there just wasn't enough room without making a basement, which I didn't want to do because, again, that would have been another staircase I would have had to figure out. So I really liked the way the outside of the house looked, and I wasn't willing to compromise the inside layout I wasn't willing to compromise like what the outside looked like just so I could make them have more bedrooms. So it's 2 bedrooms, but I end up squeezing like 2 beds in the one room, so it's a 4-person. And I love the way this master bedroom turned out. It's very small, but again, in the 80s and 90s, rooms were still pretty small. So all you needed was a bed and some curtains that took up like half the room, and then you were good. But I really love these wallpapers that we have. Like a random blue trim and pink wallpaper. It just doesn't look quite right, but it was perfect for this. And then I had to make sure I got the wooden toilet seat. I wish that you could have like a toilet seat cover that was like carpet and furry. And then like there's a little carpet rug around the toilet that was very big in the 80s. I'm not quite sure why, because bathrooms are nasty places. I don't know why you'd want carpet everywhere, but it was a good idea. In fact, in the other bathroom I do upstairs, I put carpet all the way throughout, which I know is disgusting. If your toilet overflows, that's never coming out of the carpet, but that's how the times were. That's how things went down in the 80s. I ended up building a family for this house, and I did like a little girl and a teenage girl, so they have to share a room, which is a bummer, but hey, that's life. And landscaping with this, I put some aspens out front just because I had those out front of my house growing up. A lot of this, I don't know if it's like typical 80s or it's like, hey, this is I remember from the 80s. But I put some aspens out front, and when I was little, I would always just peel the bark. I don't know if you've ever peeled the bark off aspens, but it comes off really thin like paper, and it's very therapeutic. I've heard it's bad for the trees, but ours seem to do fine, so I'm not worried about them. I don't know why I jumped outside and then went back in and finished this bedroom, but I did. So I'm just putting some teddy bears and other clutter in there for like the teenager and the little girl. And again, this house feels very cramped, but I feel like it kind of added to what I was going for, so I was happy with it. And I build very slow, so when I speed up these builds, it's very jerky. So I hope you aren't getting motion sick watching this video. I need to like learn to build faster so everything goes a little smoother. But I usually get distracted, or I'm watching a show and a fun part will come on and I'll like forget about everything else. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm building and I'm recording, so I should probably focus on that. And then I really like these little shelves I put in. They end up being towel racks. Ugh, multi-purpose towel racks. You got some shelving on top. It was lovely. And again, if only I could have put a little furry rug on that toilet seat, it would have been perfect. And I'm not quite sure what's sticking through the floor in the hallway, but I guess I just decided to ignore it. I really like that brown shag carpet. It looks like it needs to be vacuumed, which I really appreciate. Like, it's nasty. And that's what I wanted in this build. Kind of nasty. Maybe it needs to be vacuumed. These people seem like they're very clean people. But there's a certain shag. It's got like a certain shine to it. So it always looks like there's crumbs in it. So I liked that about it. And then the garage, I imagine, is like the man of the house keeps all his like exercise equipment, and he has all his like posters up. And I wanted to make the backyard really fun. Another thing I noticed with older houses was that people put a premium on backyard space. So now I feel like people try to make their houses as big as possible, so they'll fill up all of their acreage. But before, it was kind of like, I need a big backyard, and my house, I'm just going to make like a regular size. So the backyard looks massive compared to the house, but I think it worked out really great. So I made a nice patio, and you can tell this video is really old because this was before I had the, what is it called? Whichever pack it is, outdoor something, maybe it was a spa. I don't know, whichever pack it was that got you the hot tubs. So I just kind of made my own hot tub, which is great because it ended up being like a built-in hot tub built into the patio, which is what I kind of wanted. And then I put a fire pit out back for this family. And I really love all the camping chairs that came with the outdoor retreat. They like, the little kid ones turn into different little animals. They're really cute. And I made just like a little forested area in the back. I grew up with like, we called them the trees in the back of in our backyard, and they were always so fun to run around in. And so I wanted to incorporate that. And just a playground and some monkey bars for the kids. I just imagine this is like a really big barbecuing family. Like, they're just like typical American, and they barbecue and invite their neighbors over, and with their 80s haircuts, and they've all got like lots of hairspray, so it's probably not like the best idea to be barbecuing because everything on them is flammable, like polyester and hairspray. But yeah, that's how I saw this family. Apparently, I'm very descriptive. But this build is almost over. I'm gonna head into the screenshot soon, but I really like the way it turned out. I loved my childhood. I had the best childhood, and it brought back a lot of good memories. So I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope to be back with another speed build soon. And I hope you guys all have a great day. And I will talk to you later.